end of last summer, the Porsche 911 GT3 blew us away and won our Sports Car of the Year giant test. Almost a year on, we still love it. It's breathtakingly fast, feels like its tyres are made of superglue, and manages to be incredibly usable considering it's a race car with number plates. But in late autumn 2013, Ferrari released the 458 Speciale. It's a 458 Italia with extra attitude, a car that never needed extra attitude in the first place. Today is the first time we've got these cars together. So the big question is, can the Ferrari 458 Speciale outgun our reigning Sports Car of the Year champion, the Porsche 911 GT3? That's what we're here to find out. Now, before you say the Porsche doesn't stand a chance against the Ferrari, let's just have a look at this spec. At the back of the car, we've got a 3.8 litre flat six engine. It makes 469 brake horsepower and revs to 9,000 RPM. 9,000 RPM, that's an incredible figure. Now on this car, we've got the optional carbon ceramic brakes. We've also got adjustable suspension. We've got the monster rear wing to squash the rear end into the tarmac at high speed. And also, we've got sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres. But the key news inside is this, the paddle shifts. This is the first GT3 to get the PDK dual clutch gearbox. A manual gearbox isn't even an option. But the PDK has been specially tuned for the responsiveness we expect of a GT3. There's also new electric power steering, and the rear wheels now do some of the steering too. In terms of step changes, this is as crucial as when the 996 generation swapped air for water cooling. But that didn't stop this GT3 from winning our sports car giant test. But if anything can beat the GT3, it's this, the 458 Speciale. It follows in the footsteps of its predecessors, the 360 Tralian Stradale and the 430 Scuderia, and it's a more extreme, more track-focused version of the car it's based on. But this time, I think the engineers have really had the work cut out, because the 458 Italia is already a really rounded, really extreme, really enjoyable car to drive anyway. Still, I don't think the Speciale is going to be a disappointment. Like the 458 Italia, the Speciale uses a naturally aspirated 4.5 litre V8, but there are some changes here, and the overall result is 597 brake horsepower. The Speciale is around 90 kilos lighter than the Italia at 1,395 kilos, so around about 35 kilos lighter than the Porsche as well. But all that comes at a cost. You pay at least £208,000 for the Speciale, whereas the 911 GT3 is just £100,000. So let's go and refamiliarise ourselves with our reigning sports car champion. Everything immediately starts to feel familiar and come back with the GT3. Now, I know a lot of people still aren't convinced about the PDK dual clutch gearbox, these paddles, but actually when you watch this, there's 2 gear changes just with a little tap there. There's no step on the accelerator pedal, nothing to push through, and as soon as you floor it, it's all the way around to 9,000 RPM. It doesn't mess around. Oh dear. Let's see if we can just find somewhere where we can wind it out. We've got the sports exhaust button on for maximum yaw mode. So there's a bit of a straight here, let's hear this. 2,000 RPM. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that is one of the best engines in the world. Now, tractions on 911s is always fantastic. Just coming up to a little corner here, you have to really work them to make that back end work like that. But it's a very predictable, and you know, it really communicates to you. And I used to be scared of the idea of a 911 sliding, and actually it's so well balanced, and once it does go, there's nothing scary about it at all. It's a really nicely put together package. To a sharp corner here. There's rear wheel steering. I just felt the rear wheel steering just slightly then. It's so subtle that you wouldn't really know it's there. And every now and again you really sort of attack a corner and you just feel this a supernatural turning, and it reminds you that I'd completely forgotten, and it was just that little moment back there that reminded me. Third gear, second gear, sideways. Woo! Now that's the thing with this generation, the 991 generation GT3. There's a lot of new technology on it. We've got the electric steering, the paddle shift gearbox, dual clutch gearbox. We've got the active rear wheel steering, and we've got the all new engine. But it all works pretty well as far as I'm concerned. It's still a GT3. It's still brilliant. I mean, what a car. The Ferrari is one double the price of this. It has got to be pretty special to make you want to pay that extra money, I think. Now I'm probably going to have to shout a bit more in the Ferrari because it's so loud. And then like the Porsche, this revs to 9,000 RPM as well, which engines like this are just dying out now. With turbocharging, they don't rev that high, so to feel that rush of energy and power as the car comes on, and you need to rev it because they're not as torquey as turbo engines, that is all part of the experience with this car. Now we've got the Manatino here on the steering wheel, and you've got choices from wet, sport, race. Now you can hear the engine get louder there, do you hear that? Sport, race. And you turn the traction control off but leave the stability control on, or to go completely solo. Beep, 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 everything is off, bit of a warning there. And we are flying solo in the Speciale. We're starting to slide a little bit in fourth gear there. It has got 130 brake horsepower more. It's not rear engined. Still an awful lot of traction, but the Porsche would never have done that. It would have needed to be second gear. But I also think the gear ratios on this feel shorter. But we've got a bit of a straight here. Let's just look at this engine go. So let's try and keep track of it. Second gear. 2,000 RPM. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Oh my god. I mean, that revs so much faster than the Porsche. Oh my god. We got these shift lights up here telling us when to shift, because it really does rev faster than the Porsche, so much faster. I'm really surprised actually looking at that. Shift light's starting to come on. There's no doubt that this car is faster than the Porsche. Both these cars are all about extreme thrills. And there's no doubt that the Ferrari is the more extreme of the two. It's louder, it's faster, and it's just a more exhilarating, more visceral experience. It also feels lighter on its feet and more nimble than the Porsche. But there's still a lot to recommend the Porsche. It's an amazing driver's car, it costs half as much money, and it's more usable on a daily basis than the Ferrari. But today, there can be only one winner, and that is the Ferrari 458 Speciale.